Aerobic fitness is an important component in team sport performance. It helps to maintain a high work rate throughout a match, aids with recovery both within and between matches, and helps to maintain quality technical and tactical decision making. In the article published in the journal Sports Medicine, titled Development of Aerobic Fitness in Young Team Sport Athletes, Craig Harrison and colleagues put forward an evidence-based model of aerobic fitness development in youth male team sport players, involving 3 stages of development, including the sampling stage, the specialisation stage, and the investment stage. This presentation, brought to you by Talking Sports Science, will be a summary of the recommendations proposed at each stage of development. Regarding the sampling stage, which typically encompasses youth athletes between the ages of 6 to 12, the main focus at this stage is participating in a number of sporting activities on a regular basis over several weeks, with the emphasis being on enjoyment, while also providing opportunities for technical skill acquisition. To enhance aerobic fitness, as reflected by enhancing VO2 peak or intermittent shuttle running performance, sessions should last at least 60 minutes, and in terms of the work interval for a session, this could be 45 minutes at 50 to 60% of heart rate peak, as well as 10 minutes at above 85% of heart rate peak. Therefore, being involved in multiple sports, with the regular exposure of moderate intensity aerobic fitness training, which is integrated into sport-specific drills, activities, and skill-based games, is recommended during the sampling stage. During the specialisation stage, which takes place between 13 and 15, there is an increased commitment to a chosen sport. Therefore, the overall focus is mastery of individual sport-specific skills and other sport-specific activities. In this stage, it is recommended to prioritise high-intensity small-sided games to provide simultaneous development of aerobic fitness and technical skills. Small-sided games consisting of 3v3 or 4v4 player formats performed 2 to 3 times per week, with sessions lasting between 8 to 28 minutes, is suggested, while the work phases during small-sided games should be implemented to achieve intensities of between 90 to 95% of heart rate peak, with the recovery between the work bouts being either active or passive. Alternatively, if they can be practically incorporated into the team sport environment, sport-specific mixed training regimes involving a mix of ball drills, activities and circuits 5 times per week, with sessions lasting between 8 to 28 minutes and work intensities ranging between 50 to 85% of heart rate peak, can be considered as a valuable option to use to improve aerobic fitness. However, because small-sided games and certain sport-specific mixed training regimes require a combination of technical and tactical abilities and decision-making, depending on the individual skill level, this can result in variability of the physical exertion experienced by players, and so aerobic fitness may not always be improved to the desired level using these approaches. As such, depending on the training phase, the use of HIIT during the specialisation stage may be used. If this is the case, it's recommended to prescribe HIIT sessions twice per week for blocks of 5 to 10 weeks, with sessions lasting between 8 to 28 minutes, while the work period can vary in duration from 30 seconds to 4 minutes, but intensity should be consistently high, for example between 90 to 95% of heart rate peak. Rest intervals should involve active, i.e. between 60 and 70% of heart rate peak, or passive recovery. Once players adapt to the training stimulus and aerobic fitness is increased, small-sided games may again become the exercise mode that is prioritised. Also, to help avoid overtraining and injury due to the rapid changes in growth experienced by players, it's important to carefully monitor overall training and competition load during this stage of development. And lastly, the investment stage, which takes place around 16 years and above. Once players enter the investment stage, the aim is proficiency in their chosen sport. Therefore, this stage is characterised by the acquisition of expertise, during which deliberate practice as a team is the best use of the training hours. Since both physical and technical outcomes can be gained concurrently during small-sided games, this method should be prioritised during the investment years. In terms of prescription, team numbers can vary from 3v3 to 5v5, but games should be performed in large areas relative in size to the total number of players involved, performed twice per week, lasting anywhere between 8 to 28 minutes. Games consisting of 4 bouts of 4 minutes at high intensity, for example between 90 to 95% of heart rate peak, separated by 3 minutes of active recovery, for example between 60 to 70% of heart rate peak, have been shown to be effective for development of aerobic fitness. In the case of shortfalls in small-sided games training to meet individual aerobic fitness targets, or to maintain aerobic fitness in season, top-up sessions involving HIIT and or repeated sprint training are recommended. Regarding high-intensity interval training, it's suggested that this is completed 2 to 3 times per week, for blocks of 4 to 12 weeks, with similar durations as suggested for small-sided games. And for the work bout, this should be performed at high intensity, for example between 90 to 95% of heart rate peak, separated by either active recovery at 60 to 70% of heart rate peak or passive recovery. Alternatively, repeated sprint training blocks could be performed 1 to 2 times per week for 10 to 12 weeks. More specifically, 4 to 6 40-meter sprints should be completed at 95 to 100% of max effort, separated by 20 to 120 seconds of passive recovery. Sprint blocks should be repeated 2 to 5 times, interspersed with passive rest, lasting 4 to 10 minutes in duration. As with all training, this model should be individualized for each athlete in relation to the different developmental stages. However, in general, sport-specific training programs should be prioritized throughout development to increase the opportunity for concurrent physical and technical development. Although it's important training is accurately prescribed using specific game variables to ensure the desired adaptations are achieved. And that concludes this presentation. I recommend you go and check out the full article. The link is in the description. Thanks for listening, folks. See you next time.